Do you feel like you've experienced more pain and struggle in your life than most others have? In this episode, we interview Amanda Goolsby, who shares her incredible journey of resilience after going through very difficult traumas and life experiences, including sexual abuse, drug addiction, and poverty. This is a very raw and authentic dialogue that is sure to inspire anyone who has gone through or is currently going through difficult life circumstances.
Here's 3 things you're going to learn. 1, how Amanda changed her subconscious patterns to break through her poverty consciousness and create abundance. 2, gain insight into how your trauma can be a gateway to your awakening and greater joy in life. 3, learn how deep listening and following your inner guidance can help you on your healing journey. Are you ready? Let's take a listen together.
Amanda, I'm curious about your relationship with your subconscious mind. You played a key role in building one of the most successful fitness organizations in the US, Orange Theory, and you did it in record time. I'm curious to understand the role of your subconscious mind in that journey. What was going on just before and during that time?
So to start with the answer of what was the role that my subconscious mind was playing, I think that the context that's important is to understand what I didn't know about the subconscious mind when I started the journey, which is that 95% of everything we do every single day is being run by our subconscious mind. Every single thing we do, every single pattern of thought we think, every single behavior pattern that we complete, 95% of it was patterned between the ages of 0 and 7 years old. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that until well into my journey of building with the brand Orange Theory Fitness. However, once I heard that, then I went, oh, wow. Then 95% of my results are going to come from transforming my subconscious mind. And I began the path. And so to answer the question about what happened directly before, well, that's where things get real interesting, because before I started with Orange Theory Fitness, I'll take you to a day that changed my life forever, which was July 24th of 2010. At the time, I was about to start my senior year of college at Washington State University. I was a Cougar, go Cougs. And I was a personal trainer running my own personal training business. I was teaching group fitness at the Student Rec Center. I was a competitive bodybuilder that was competing in women's fitness and figure competitions. And I was traveling the world and enjoying life and living entrepreneurship at 18 and 19 and 20 and 21 years old. And on a hot summer sunny afternoon in July, all of our trainers decided we were going to go out for a fun day of jet skiing. And on the very last run of the night, I decided that I was going to take a guest on the jet ski with me. And I don't know if you've ever been on one, Ben or Mitra, have you guys been on one?
Oh, yes, I have.
Yeah. So you know how you can accelerate and then you turn and then it throws the person
off. I love doing that. I love it.
So I threw him off, and then I threw him off again, and then he gets back on. And the third time he scoots forward and he holds onto my waist. And I said, wait a second. You know that means that if you fly off, that I'm flying off with you. And we both laughed. And then 30 seconds later, I turned fast and we both went flying off. But this time my knee got caught on the seat and it dislocated instantly my kneecap. And then as I was skipping across the water like a little rock, my leg was just flopping and I landed in the water and I was in the most excruciating pain I had ever felt in my entire life, screaming, I broke my leg, I broke my leg, I broke my leg. And I can only say I wish I broke my leg. Wow. Because what actually happened is I tore all 4 ligaments in my knee. I severed the main artery in my leg, and I had to be life flighted to the closest vascular hospital. And they told me as I landed on the tarmac and I was rolling into the operating room, no guarantees you're going to have your leg in the morning when you wake up. And if you do, no guarantees you're ever going to be able to walk or run again.
Wow.
And for a human whose entire identity and reality was my physical body, I saw my entire world flash before my eyes. My entire identity, everything that I knew to be true about myself in the world, was my body. And in a flash of an eye, in the blink of an eye, it was gone.
Wow.
That was 18 months before Orange Theory Fitness came into my life. And so I went through a deep journey for 18 months of the most intense. And it was part of the agreement. You know, the accident wasn't just an accident. It was a full near-death experience. So I don't know if you know what an NDE is.
Yeah, we do.
And maybe the listeners do or don't. But basically, during the 9.5-hour vascular surgery, I experienced being fully enveloped in white light. And I heard a statement that said, you have two options. You can stay here, you can go back. But if you go back, here's the agreement. You're going to face the worst of all of the human traumas, all of them. All of them. But then you're going to heal from all of them. And then you're going to have the capacity to help any single person that's put in your path heal from anything that they're facing in their life. And I said, put me back on the bus. And I took the slide back down to Earth School, and that was crazy.
Wow. Mitra.
Yeah, I'm just taking in all the information, Amanda. That is amazing. And I can completely relate to that because I had a near-death experience around COVID. And that was an identical question that I was asked. It's really crazy. I mean, I was getting shivers. Do you want to stay or do you want to go? That was a real question. So I can relate a lot to that. And for those of you who are listening and are not familiar with near death, it is a place in between. It's a very fascinating place that you are less body and density and more light, but yet you still have your body and a choice apparently. So Amanda, what I really want to know is what made you make that decision? Why do you recall why you said yes, knowing that you were going to be facing the dramatic life that they were promising you? What made you say yes?
Because my soul knew that it wasn't time to go.
Your soul knew.
I wasn't complete. It wasn't complete yet.
Why did you say your soul knew? How did you distinguish between you, the you here, and the you soul you?
Because the you here wasn't here. I was not in form. I was not in physical form. So the density as we move from the higher outer densities and into three-dimensional density, into this physical reality, into matter, into form, that's here, form, physical body, skin, nails, hair. And when enveloped with white light, I was not in my body. I didn't have the pain of the accident happening. I didn't have a consciousness in that time and moment to say, I'm in pain. This hurts. I don't know if I want to go back. I'm going to be in pain when I go back. I didn't know pain.
And then when you came to your connection with your density and physicality, what was the conversation between your dense self and your soul?
I was so high on morphine. No, I'm serious. For months.
Yeah. Yes.
That it took until I got off the morphine and then off of the opioids that I was then addicted to. And then off of the alcohol and the MDMA and the Molly that I then got addicted to. It wasn't once I got completely sober that then all of the understanding came back. The knowing, the deep cellular understanding of the trajectory and the path. It was once I got clear and allowed my channel to be completely connected to the light again that all of the awareness came through.
And as far as physical time is concerned, how much time took for that between the near-death experience to actual realization and cleansing from the
7 years.
substances? 7 years. Wow.
Because it takes 7 years for every cell in our body to turn over. And now I understand why 7-year cycles are so important. And now I understand why every 7 years we're a completely different human being. Should we allow ourselves to believe that that's possible? Every single cell can become made new, and we can become new. And it took me 7 years, almost exactly, when the flood of information started coming through, because it was July of 2010 that the accident happened. It was July of 2017 that my business partners and I had completed the build of our $20 million company, and I exited the partnership.
Wow. Okay, so if you were to bring you back to your relationship with your subconscious mind. So after this near-death experience, shortly afterwards, you get the opportunity to work with Orange Theory Fitness. You know that this is a playground. You know that you have work to do, and you're working with your subconscious mind. What are the key themes that you're faced with right after this accident? And then what role did your role at Orange Theory play in that?
Abuse, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, sexual. That all happened within 18 months after the accident. Addiction, massive addiction. Prescribed 80 milligrams of Oxycontin and 15 milligrams of Percocet every 3 hours as a 140-pound young 21-year-old. Poverty, consciousness, that has been in my lineage for the history of ever. And that looked like $80,000 in debt and $1 million total all-in hospital expense from the accident. Luckily, thank God that I had both parents had insurance, and all but $30,000 of that was covered. I personally was responsible for the remaining because I don't come from a family that had any money. Abuse, addiction, poverty, and deep mental health issues. Depression, like you've never felt depression. Like suicidal ideation, I don't know if I should stay on this planet type of depression. In a wheelchair, 30 pounds overweight, my whole life, everything I knew, gone, identity, wiped. And now here I am in this body that was not the body I created up until that point in my life. It was a body that I came back to, and then it just happened. Like I became this big giant blob that I had never even known to be possible.
Wow. It's beyond your control. You had to surrender at a much deeper level.
Frosties, but still.
So Amanda, can you put this in the context relative to where did all this fall relative to this 18-month rapid exponential growth streak at Orange Theory? Where were you dealing with your personal growth when this was happening?
Wow, you know what I just realized by you saying that is that it was 18 months. It was 18 months. Was the trauma cycle was 18 months, and then the rapid acceleration of growth. So that was from July of 2010 all the way through the end of 2011 was where all of the major trauma of the sexual abuse and the rape and all the things, the abortion and all the things happened during that time. And then that was ended in end of 2011. Start of 2012, I started with Orange Theory Fitness. The brand at the time had 10 studios open across the country, and I got hired as an assistant studio manager, $27,500 a year. And months later, not even 1 month later, I had the person who probably has one of the top 3 people, the most influential people in my life, Travis Renner. He sat me down and he said, I've never in my life met someone more resilient. I've never in my life met someone with more potential. And your life's a shit show. And if you don't start working on yourself every single day, you're going to fail at Orange Theory Fitness. So here's a book. I'd highly suggest you read it.
This is at the beginning.
This is the start of the journey. This is a month into being hired as a front desk employee, basically. Okay. But I don't think what he understood is that I don't have like a 50%. Some people can like do things halfway. I don't have that. I either have 100 or nothing. I have 2 speeds. I call it cheetah mode and sloth mode. Yeah. And so I went full cheetah. And for the next 6 months, I read a book a week on leadership. And in those 6 months, I helped build the business that was failing at that time to the most successful business in the state of Arizona, which then proceeded to lead us to become the most successful area. I became the regional manager, and Arizona became, at that time, like the fastest growing, most successful region in the country. And we got up to 12 studios in a period of about the same 18 months. So interesting. This number keeps coming up. And that then put me on the path that then opened more doors and opened more opportunities and opened more opportunities until the final 18 months, which was end of 2015 to mid 2017, was the final 18 months in which myself and another primary owner and another operating partner came together and built the organization that was our my final 18 months. They continued on, and Honors Holdings has gone on to do absolutely incredible things. And under the leadership of Jamie Weeks, who is another really powerful and influential person in my life, an MBA, CPA, CFA, who took me under his wing for those final 18 months. And I got a real life MBA.
Mm. So many people read success books. So many people have tried to read them all, but have not made progress. And somehow you were able to read those books and you were able to manifest very quickly progress in your life. Yeah. What was going on? Why were you able to do that? Why were you able to do what so many people struggle with doing? And let's give some context, Amanda. Can you give some context on your upbringing, where you were born, what you were born into?
So I was born at home. My mom had me at home with a doula and a midwife and my aunt in a 72-foot long mobile home, trailer park. My dad was at the bar because there were too many women at the house, and we were on welfare, so state assistance. And up until about 6 weeks ago, I had a story that said that I was born into a field of scarcity, an energetic vortex of scarcity. And then 6 weeks ago, something changed, and we'll get back to that at some point. But for some context, my dad at the time was addicted to alcohol and substances. We were deeply in poverty. My mom, by the time I was 3, had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And at 3 years old, for the first time, I was taken to a home 10 houses down and left while my mom was hospitalized. My dad had already left us and moved in with another woman eight houses away.
Wow.
Yeah.
And abuse, addiction, mental health disorders, and poverty.
Wow.
So then, going back to the question, why were you able to break through?
Because I knew without a shadow of a doubt, from the time I was 8 years old, I remember this moment in time where I started waking up to understanding that there were people that lived on the other side of the tracks that weren't me, my friends, my upper middle class friends. And I had a moment at 8 years old where I said, I don't know what that quote unquote success is, but I'm going to figure it out. 8-year-old Amanda became the highest of high achievers. The highest of high achievers. Like if there was a high achiever award for high achievers, I would have gotten that award from 8 to 18 because I was determined to figure it out. And so when you ask why, how, if people read all these books, if they go to the seminars, if they do the courses, why does their life not change? And the answer is because they don't do the actual work. They learn and add knowledge. That's expanding the 5% of our conscious mind. That's called conscious learning. That's this. It's growth. And what growth is, if it's growth for the sake of growth, that's called cancer. So the question is, are you going to transform your life or are you going to grow? To transform means to unwind, to make new, to have a cell completely regenerate itself until every single cell in this being is different. But where was the real work? The real work is to go all the way into the shadow of the subconscious mind. Every single last corner with a flashlight so bright that nothing can hide, and with the amount of compassion that's necessary in order to be so present with the part of yourself and the part of myself. Because that little 8-year-old girl, like, all she wanted was to just play, to just be and joy and play, and, like, be a kid. But that wasn't the reality. The reality was I had to figure out success because I knew that I wasn't going to live the path of having a felony for drugs, being mentally ill, and being in poverty. That was not my path. And so I was willing to go anywhere, and I still am. I will go anywhere. I'll fly to the ends of the earth for the sake of healing and transformation and awakening. Anywhere, and I have. And I will continue until my time comes. And my time here is complete. And I will continue to every day. And I now live in such a way that's really tough for a lot of people to understand. Because now I live in a way that I call living guided. And what that means is I'm in Miami currently. You guys get to see this lovely, lush background. But the interesting part is I don't know why I'm here. Sure, there's a large art event going on. I don't have tickets to the event. I'm not RSVP'd for a single party. I don't know why I'm here, but I knew I was supposed to be here, and so I came. And this is what I do moment by moment by moment. I don't know why I'm going to Africa on December 18th, but I'm clear that I'm supposed to be in Africa, and so I'll go. And to be in relationship with me, my friends, my family, and anyone who's close to me has to, and I have asked them to let me be me, all of me, at all times. If they want to be in relationship with me, because this is a really unique way to live. I know that. And it's the way I've been called to live, so I'm moving that way.
All right, I'm going to come in, Ben. I've been very patiently holding on to my questions. Amanda, dear, I heard a lot of numbers. I'm mesmerized, fascinated, curious about numbers. So were you 21 in 2010? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's fascinating to me because you keep referring to a few weeks ago you had another transformation, because that's another 7. 2024
Correct.
is also
Correct.
You probably are 35 by now, so that's 35. So that's another 7. I'm fascinated by these numbers. 2017 something happened. So
28, yes, 28 was when the sale of the business happened. The ending of the partnership happened. That was also my Saturn return. And then now I've done a 7-year cycle, and now I'm 35, and yes, another 7-year turn has happened.
So it's understandable that you are even more open to whatever it is the next transformation or healing is going to be for you and be taking you. So tell me if you ever have any intention for something to happen, or are you completely open? Because open has many degrees on a spectrum of 20%, 80%, 100%. I'm very fascinated. I've never met anybody that is 100% open except one enlightened Vivekananda. But I'm really interested to know if you are truly 100%, or what would be the percentage of your openness?
The number that just came through when you asked that question immediately was 90-10. And I'd like to get to the place where I could say 100%. But I believe, and the people that are closest to me will share that moment by moment by moment, everything is always happening exactly how it's meant to. I believe that without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. And so even this morning, as I drove from Tampa, Florida, in the middle of the night to get to Miami with a driver who is this angel that I happened to meet in San Francisco in 2018, who was sleeping in his car, my Uber driver, who said, "I'm sleeping in my car." And I said, "No, you're not. You're sleeping on my couch tonight." And now here we are in Florida, and he lives here now. And he drove me for 4.5 hours through the night last night to get me to Miami. And we got, at one point, he said, I'm so tired. Like, I had been sleeping for 90 minutes. And he said, I'm so tired. I said, I'm awake now. Like, I slept. Just please let me drive. And he was in resistance to it. And when I got out of the car, my cell phone fell out. But I keep these on most times, these Bose noise canceling headphones. Why? Because my level of auditory sensitivity is so intense that it's tough to be a human in a world that has incoherent noise, energy, frequencies. And so I keep these noise canceling headphones on probably 90% of my time when I'm not at home. And at home is 10 acres in Topanga Canyon, where sometimes I don't see another human, I just hear birds. And so when I'm not there, these are mostly on. Whether I'm at a nightclub, in a restaurant, it doesn't matter. And people comment, so why do you have those headphones on? And I'm like, because I'm extremely sensitive to sound. And I would be dysregulated and unable to eat or have fun with you guys if I didn't have them on. And I think that there's a lot of people on this planet that are high HSP, highly sensitive people, highly sensitive persons, highly sensitive children that are being labeled autistic, that are being labeled mentally ill, that are being labeled schizophrenic, and it's not true.
Yes. It's a wrong word we use, I believe. I mean, my partner is sensitive about chemicals in the air that people use. And really, when I look at him and I think it's not sensitivity, it's actually identification of chemicals and poisons in our environment. You can call it, because majority of people are naming the minority. So of course it's a name that is suitable to them. But I think it's these people who are sensitive about noises, smells, or any other sensitivity, chemicals in our food. They are people who are really informants. They are telling us these are poisons in our environment. These are unhealthy stuff in our environment. So,
right. You know, especially the electronically sensitive ones, because
exactly.
That's the invisible.
Exactly. We have to actually listen to them, because it's like, it's like perfume. Nobody seems to be upset by them, but they are still poisonous. They're still poisoning people. I just don't know that they're poisoning them. So that doesn't change the nature of the poison.
And that goes back to something you said earlier about the consciousness piece. I think there was a comment at some point about how, like, maybe it was even before we started. I don't remember, but there was a conversation piece that was like about, as my consciousness elevated, what I thought was healthy in the fitness industry in 2010 when I was competing in bodybuilding shows. And then I got implants put into my body, plastic put into my body, which I bet as I go out in Miami tonight, I will see plenty of that. And to know the healing that had to occur in order for me to get those removed, and to know that as my consciousness elevated, my health consciousness at a cellular level, not my aesthetic consciousness at a bodybuilding level, but as my health consciousness expanded, I realized, man, having plastic inside my body, probably not a good idea. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get those taken out. And then I had to unwind the ego identity that had been attached to becoming more lovable, becoming worthy of men's love or adoration or affection, looking a certain way, living up to some cultural standard of what beauty is, blonde hair, big boobs, tall, all things that I tried to have, but that wasn't who I was. Mm-hmm. But I put those characters on at certain points in the journey. Mm. And I had to unwind also the level of self-betrayal that is required to hand someone a knife and say, please cut me open because I'm not good enough. Wow. As I am.
Wow.
So when I say I've been willing to go to the shadows, to the depths of shadows, that's the level to which I'm talking. I'm not just talking, oh, I think I shouldn't get my implants out. No, I'm like, wait, how did I ever get to that decision? And where did that come from? Like, I was living in Scottsdale at the time. Oh, because everyone in Scottsdale has implants. So it's something to also notice and be aware of, is that we are highly impacted by the environments that we're in, but it's actually not what we think it is. It's the consciousness, it's the energetic thought forms that are being projected to create an energy field that then we swim in every single day. I'm in my swimsuit right now, but we swim in this energy field every single day. And then all of a sudden we think that we need the thing that everyone else is getting. So down here, I'm curious to watch and observe tonight how much of the beauty culture of implants and injections and Botox and Juvederm is a part of what the culture is going to be here tonight. And um, I don't play the game that way anymore.
Mitra, you brought up something about listening to the signals from the environment, and I'm curious, Amanda, what role has listening played in your journey as you face these shadows?
It's the whole thing. How deeply can I listen to life? How deeply can I listen to myself? How deeply can I listen to every single human being that I meet? And I don't mean listen with my ears. I have a superpower. And one of my superpowers is that I have the capacity to see what other people don't see in most environments, to hear what other people don't hear, to sense what other people don't sense, to feel what other people don't feel. And so when I walk into a space, I don't know where this came from fully. I think I have some sense about it, but I track every single space. I know where every single exit is. I know who's running the show. I know who the leader is. I know who the boss is, but then I know who the leader is. I know who the most influential person on the team is. I know if the team is having fun and enjoy, and if my body's going to feel good when I finish eating a meal, or if there's guilt and shame and anger and resentment in the kitchen, and then I'm going to feel that in my body when I get done eating. And I'm tracking it everywhere I go, environment by environment. So listening is my number one. It's the number one thing. How deeply can I listen to my body, moment by moment by moment, and honor? That's the key. I don't know if you guys probably don't know this, but I went over there and did a handstand just a little bit ago because I've learned that when my body starts to feel full, like there's a lot of energy in my body, that I have two ways that I can clear. I can swim, jump in the water, fully submerge myself, which I do every single day, no matter where I'm at in the world. And I can go upside down into a handstand, and I can drop that energy out of my body through my head and into the ground. But I now listen so deeply to myself, and I give, excuse my language, zero fucks. I give zero fucks anywhere that I am. And if someone cannot handle my embodied expression that is coming out in order to keep myself and my body safe, then I choose not to be in relationship with them.
Talking about relationship, I'm very fascinated by now, today, in 2024, where you are in another amazing cycle of major transformation and healing. How do you listen to your subconscious, and how does the conscious you, the awakened you, speak to your subconscious?
I wouldn't say that I listen to my subconscious as much as I would say I shine light into it. Like I continue to seek opportunities and environments in which I can work with some of the world's best healers and teachers, and I ask openly for like really honest and clear feedback from the people that are closest to me, including my most intimate relationships and friendships. I asked them, like I had a conversation with one of my dear friends last night, Jennifer Hootie, and I said, the thing that I actually value the most in this friendship is the fact that we're both so committed to transformation and to our own evolution and awakening that we are willing to hold up mirrors to each other and point out the patterns that we see, lovingly call each other forward on the patterns that we see, and then still love each other as we hold each other, even if that means her and I had just not really been in friendship for a year. And last night was our reconnection call. And there was a season that was necessary, but I still am committed to asking, what do you see? What do you see? What do you see that I don't see? What do you see that I might be blind to? What's a blind spot that's right here on my forehead that only you see, but I don't see? And So it's not as much as listening to my subconscious as it is becoming aware of any sort of continued patterns. Because if we know that the subconscious, 95%, it's patterns, it's pattern recognition. So to understand the subconscious is to be a pattern recognizer. It's to notice the patterns that we have around anything that we do in our life every single day, any thought, any pattern, any action, and notice if it actually is coming from a place of acceptance and compassion and neutrality or higher from a consciousness perspective, or if it's coming from guilt and shame and fear and anger and resentment.
So I'm recognizing a pattern here, and tell me if I'm wrong. I'm recognizing a pattern of lecturing instead of answering. I wanted to know, what do you, Amanda, do when you see it? You gave me information. Okay, I got it. You seek outwardly input and feedback. That's great. I really want to know, in the silence of you, between you and your head, and by listening I didn't mean obeying, I meant hearing. What is that relationship? I want to know, like really know, not informationally.
Yeah.
And Amanda, can you actually, to refine that further, walk us through maybe a recent example? And what does the work really mean? Because it's not easy. I know, because I do it too. What does it actually mean? What does it take? If you can walk us through an example, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that feedback, Mitra. And one of my gift is I have infinite energy, and the infinite energy that comes through me, the life force that comes through me and is rushing through my veins at all times. The kryptonite, the kryptonite of that can be intensity. Intensity. They can come through as intensity. And so to go to that breakthrough moment, because I think I said we're going to come to this. I know we're going to come back to this. But to answer your question, to both of your questions, Ben, 6 weeks ago, I was actually with our dear mutual friend, which is why we're on this call today, Michael Dash's 50th birthday in Tulum. And Michael Dash and I have known each other for 10 years, since I sold him a membership at Orange Theory Fitness in 2015. And one of the things Michael brought into his birthday was what's called 9D breathwork. It's a facilitated breathwork journey where you use sound canceling headphones and a very specific guided breathwork process that includes binaural beats and stereo synchronization of the headphones and affirmations, and just you can even just go online to Google and type in 9D breathwork, and you can listen to one of these tracks. So we're doing this breakthrough breathwork session. And in that session, I had a breakthrough that has massively transformed my life in the last 6 weeks. And the breakthrough was, so you're doing breathwork. And when you do breathwork, one of the things that happens is you drop out of your thinking mind. You're no longer in the 5% conscious mind, and you start to get below to the layers of the subconscious. Breathwork, especially for people who were born in months. This is what I found, especially for people. My mental body, Mercury, the mental body in my astrology is in Aquarius. That's an air sign. So if I want to break through in my mindset, then I use air. I use the element of air to receive that breakthrough. So for someone who's an Aquarius or a Gemini, or someone who has their mental body, Mercury in Aquarius, from an astrological perspective, I learned, oh wow, that's where I actually get my most rapid acceleration of subconscious breakthroughs, is when I'm doing breath work, because my mental body is really impacted by that. So as I'm doing this breath work session, wow, it was so profound, because I saw the moment that I was born, and I saw that it wasn't that I was born into a field of scarcity. I was born into a field of love and joy and abundance. And there were 4 women, 4, not one woman, not one mom. There were 4 women that welcomed me into their arms with so much love and joy and abundance. Like that room, it didn't matter. It was in a freaking trailer park. there was so much love and joy and abundance. So then what if the work? So then you have the breakthrough. I had the breakthrough. I was like, holy wow, 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 what a shitty story I've been telling myself for 35 years, that I was born into a field of scarcity. What a shitty, shitty, shitty story that is. So then I was like, wait a second. I would like to tell a different story. I would like to tell a story that I was born into a field of love and joy and abundance. And so then I did the next step that I know matters to me, and that's called patterning my conscious mind with one thing that works for me better than anything, and it's called music. So then I created a playlist called Love, Joy, Abundance. I'll send it to both of you. And then
Yeah, I would love that.
every single day, without fail, since that day, every single day. Why? Because how do you repattern the subconscious mind? Through repetition, through repetition, through repetition, through repetition, through. So I've listened to that playlist to anchor in the frequency of love and joy and abundance and love and joy and abundance. And who would have thought that the last 6 weeks of my life, I have experienced the most love and joy and abundance that I've ever experienced in the history of ever.
Wow. Wow. That was profound, really profound. Let me tell you, Amanda, I was born in Iran, and the setting that you explained was exactly the setting I was born. In fact, in Iran, those days, they used to call on all the most feminine, nurturing elders, young women of the community, not necessarily relatives. It could be a neighbor. In fact, there was a neighbor present in the room when I was born. And the idea was that the feminine energy in the room is so strong that the woman who's going through the pain is held, the baby is held, and the whole room is full of love and feminine, nurturing energy. So that was the ultimate way. I wish I had given birth to my girls in that setting. I didn't, because they were born in the West. And I wish they were born where my grandmother and their grandmother and other women in the community were holding the space. So
Yeah.
I can completely relate to that. And I think that's an amazing setup for any child to be born into. Bunch of loving women holding the space and allowing them to be welcome to this world. So
I just had a real interesting realization, which is that I know my mom was there and I know my aunt was there, but I actually don't deeply know the other two women, the doula and the midwife. And so when we get off this call, I'm going to call my mom and ask her if she can share more
Okay.
about who those other two women were.
Wow.
Please
Yeah.
do.
That
Please
would be, I imagine that'll be a very interesting discovery journey for you. Amanda, I'm curious what role your relationship to a higher power has played in your journey, if any.
It's everything. I'm guided. I'm living my life guided. I go where I'm told. I stay how long I'm told. I leave when I'm told. That might sound really weird and out there to some people. But the truth of the matter is we all have access. And you can call it whatever name you want. And if you have God trauma, then don't call it God until you heal your God trauma. And maybe it's spirit or infinite intelligence, the universe, nature, life force, whatever word you use, it's fine. Use your word, the word that resonates. But ultimately, the truth of reality is that there is, in my opinion, my experience is that there is something greater than myself. Why? Because I don't know. I left this body and then heard something and then felt something and then returned back. And then how could you not? I have a friend who said, I don't know if I believe. And I said, I did it. You have not had the embodied experience that I had. So I understand why you might feel that way. And I would highly encourage and invite you to just stay open to a possibility that exists. That if I can have this access, that so can you. It might look different, it might sound different, it might feel different, but we all have the capacity to receive guidance should we open our identity enough to realize that in this small, limited human form that we don't have all the answers and that life gets to be a lot easier the more that we connect to something greater than ourselves and realize that we don't have to have it all figured out, and we don't have to be perfect, and we don't have to have all the answers right here, right now. And the deeper we listen and the more we trust and the more we allow ourselves to be guided, the easier this whole journey gets.
I like to close by asking actually. I know we talked a lot about being a certain way, your relationship with conscious, subconscious, numbers, astrology, your higher self, your lower self, your God, whatever you want to call it. I want to know if you were going to say something, a doing thing, not just a being thing, what would be one thing that you would suggest to a listener that it is where you were when you were really, really down and in your addiction, in your suffering, in your pain, be it physical or emotional or spiritual? What would be one thing that you would suggest to a brother or a sister, or a they?
Find someone else that believes in you until you believe in yourself.
Find someone else to believe in you until you believe in yourself. Wow. That is profound. Amanda, I really appreciate your vulnerability. I loved seeing you naked emotionally and spiritually and energetically. It was an honor to watch you. And that is for me. Ben?
Thank you.
Amanda, speaking to you has impacted me in ways that can't verbalize and don't even make sense. I resonate very, very deeply with the journey that you're on, the pathway of surrender. And I want to thank you for having the courage to come back, the courage to walk the path that so many people are afraid to walk, so that you can pave a way for them to follow. I honor you and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both for a really incredible journey. I feel like I just went on a medicine journey for the last 90 minutes.
And I hope that we were midwifing you, because I was holding you with a lot of love.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. For a list of the links and other resources referenced in this episode, check out the podcast description.
If you're benefiting from our podcast, we'd love if you could help us reach more people by subscribing. Your support means the world to us. From our hearts to yours, we thank you.